Welcome, one and all, to Highlands Motorsport Park for the most important qualifying session of the weekend, if not the championship. These are the countries represented here this year for the 20th running of the Castrol Toyota Racing Series, now known as CTFROC, Castrol Toyota Formula Regional Oceania. And this man, number 17, is looking to try and get the runner-up spot, if not win the championship himself. He, of course, Nikita Johnson, big year ahead for him. Qualifying about to come your way, and it's different than what you've seen if you've been watching for the last 4 weeks. Here's how we run it. Grid positions for race 1. Everybody goes out for 15 minutes, and the top 13 will qualify to the next Q2. 14 through 17, that will be their grid position for race 1 and for the Grand Prix, the feature race to come. Then we move to Q2, that's just 10 minutes. And the top 8 in that will go through to the shootout for pole. 9 through 13, that will be their grid position for the Grand Prix. And then finally, we do the shootout for the Grand Prix, the 69th running of the Grand Prix. And the top 8 will then decide who will be pole. And so important around this very long circuit. And Andrew, I'm going to talk technical here because on paper, that looks fairly simple, right? But how do you choose your tyres?
Yeah, you definitely obviously got to start out on the green tyres, and more or less for that first qualifying, you've got to focus on qualifying for the first race. So put your best foot forward initially, get through that first part, and then worry about the qualifying for the shootout a bit later on.
Andrew, where can you gain time or lose time on this very long track?
It's a very technical, fast, high committed circuit around Highlands Motorsport Park here with a distance of just over 4 kilometers and 14 turns. Super committed through the bus stop and into the big long loop from there. Very high aero part of the track, and then down into the S's under the bridge. And from turn 5, important to get a good run out of there as you're flat all the way down into turn 9. And again, important to get a good run out of turn 9 as you head up towards the bridge and over the bridge. Airborne in a CTFROC car as we head towards turn 11, 12 and 13 to finish off the lap. That turn 14, you get very, very close to that wall on the outside. There's a lot of elevation change with a total of 29 meters of elevation.
Sean Rashid from the USA saying that jump over the bridge is his favorite part of this whole track. Let's head down to Greg Russ in pit lane.
Jonathan, a couple of late leavers from the lane, Brock Feeney, and we are waiting, I think, for Zach Schooler as well to head out. So they may be just looking for a bit of track position there. I've had a word with Simon Poole from Pirelli. The ambient temperature is 27 degrees at the moment. The track is 38. We have very similar conditions to what we experienced on Friday. I think we are in for a cracking qualifying session here. The bottom 4 in this one will be eliminated. That bottom 4, that is where they will start the New Zealand Grand Prix. Think of this first qualifying session as though we are setting the grid for this afternoon's race, and then it's all about the build-up to the GP from here. Couple of stories out of Friday. Brock Feeney was fast. Will Brown was fast. We seem, though, to have Arvid Lindblad, our series leader, a little on the back foot. Have they been keeping something just in their back pocket, in reserve perhaps, that we might finally see a reveal on in this session?
It's a very good question, Greg, because, yeah, you're right, M2 have looked kind of out of sorts, but you never know, do you?
Yeah, I reckon we're yet to see this beast get unleashed as Arvid Lindblad. We've seen how fast he is. We know how good he is at high committed corners, as we've seen at the previous round. So I don't think we have too much to worry about there. He will pop up towards the front as we see them all get warmed up with these Pirelli tyres as they get set for the first qualifying. And just to work through the qualifying here. So the drivers have 2 sets available for their duration of the qualifying. So the ultimate is to run the new tyres in the first session, as we've seen them all go out at the moment, and then ultimately you put the second set of tyres on for Q3 for the shootout for pole for the Grand Prix. So that's what most likely will happen. The only time you might see something different if it's someone who may just scrape through Q1 and they have a slight opportunity to get into Q2, they might put their best foot forward for that Q2 to get towards a shootout, and then, you know, worst case, they're going to finish 8th in that.
You know, I think of somebody like Statty and Bowling, who have been 12th, 13th, around that figure each and every qualifying session this season. although that belies their form because the form here this year is so much higher. And I wonder if maybe they take a risk on using new tyres, basically for that first 2 qualifying sessions to get them through into the top 13 and then carry on to Q2 to give them a better chance of a start for the Grand Prix.
And that's something the other drivers had to think about, those guys that comfortably run in the top 8. They may have to consider their new tyre earlier as well, because if you comfortably sort of sit around that, those guys that normally may be behind you in the times of what we've seen previous rounds may end up jumping a few others. So it's going to be, it's awesome. It's going to create a bit of a mixed grid for this Grand Prix. But as we always say, and there is a saying, cream always rises to the top. And we've seen some fast drivers, and this is one of them on screen who's been very, very quick this whole championship, Nikita Johnson. He's starting to wind in for his first flyer.
Yeah, Nikita Johnson is one to watch because he currently is 59 points, which is going to be hard to catch, behind Arvid Lindblad. But he's only 8 points ahead of Zach Skula, who, as we know, has been the big surprise of this series. And Zach Skula is desperate to try and get that runner-up spot. Remember, 18 to the winner, 14 for second place. That's a lot of super license points towards Formula One, and that's where Nikita Johnson, although he's driving on both sides of the pond, wants to get.
Yeah, it's just, you know, a credit to this championship to be able to get that many super license points, and it just shows how highly regarded it is on the world stage. So we've got Greg Russ with a bit of an update.
Andrew, just on Nikita, he was nice and relaxed last night at an Italian restaurant in Cromwell, just ready for this qualifying session. You'll see a feature with him in our coverage a little later today. One thing that doesn't sit well with the American is this consistency that he's delivered. That's been the hallmark of his championship so far. He wants wins. Are we going to see another little step here this weekend?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. He's been so close. He's been on the podium so many times, just yet that win has eluded him. He also admitted in another interview, we'll hear what Greg's interview says, but he said that when he was asked what his strength was and what his weakness was, and he said his strength was without doubt later in the race, managing tyres and getting them to the finish and being competitive at the finish. And here at Highlands, at this 4.1 kilometre circuit, that's going to be key as he dives through the bus stop. And you can see now he's on a flyer. Crosby at the top at the moment, but the time's yet to really show anything. And Crosby actually did a good run here. 5th in the championship last year, but it's not been an easy season for the man from Invercargill. Nikita going back to GB3 with High Tech this season, as well as 4 rounds of Indy Next. And a quick shout out to our former champion, Callum Hedge, who has also had a good Indy Next test yesterday at Laguna Seca, as did last year's Grand Prix winner, Liam Skeets.
Just look at the lap times now. Seb Manson, he is currently in P1 with a 1:31.2. So the lap times yesterday we started seeing were down into the 29, so mid-29. So expect to see that today. It was in the heat of the day as well, though, doing that. So I wouldn't be surprised if we're seeing low 29s down into the 28s, which we see Brock Feeney.
Feeney goes 1:30.3.
He did a brilliant job yesterday to come into this championship with not a huge amount of single-seater experience. By all means, I expected him to be quick. He's a super talented, super fast driver. And this is engineer Martin Short from 888. He's also helping out Brock this weekend as well. So
and a Kiwi.
He is a Kiwi. Yep, actually used to race him in Formula Ford back in the day. Very handy Formula Ford driver.
Long time ago, but anyway, he is now looking after Brock, and that's actually going to be a really good thing because he's got that, you know, he's got that relationship that's going to help Brock because he's going to have to think quick. Just 7:51 in this particular first qualifying. Remember, this decides the grid for the first race, which you'll see this afternoon, as Arvid Lindblad of Great Britain goes quickest, a 1:29.6, and now we're starting to get in the kind of times that we expect them to be in, which is the 29s, perhaps even lower.
There's Will Brown. Then he pops to the top of the list as we watch Brock Feeney as he makes his way up towards the bridge. Super high commitment up over the top there.
Feeney, you say, hasn't got much single-seater experience. I think he only tested a Formula 4 car. He's raced in '86 here in New Zealand, but that's a whole different kettle of fish. And this has been a real learning curve. He really has had that grin on his face, though. He says, you know, I'm kind of out of my depth here. But then again, he was quickest in one of the sessions, so don't count him out. He means business, and he's just gone fourth.
Yeah, nice lap by him. This is back at the bus stop. Just see the commitment, the way they use those curbs, and it's a real balancing act as you go through the bus stop there in a CTFROC car. You use too much curb, it can bounce the car awkwardly, and you will not have a lot of time to save that. As you see Lindblad here, he comes up towards the line.
I'm also keeping an eye on his teammate, Matthias Zagazeta, a two-time winner so far, down at 16th at the moment. He'll need to improve, put some laps in, as Arvid Lindblad improves his time of 1:29.4, just dropping it down each and every lap, as he has done all season long. Through the bus stop he goes.
It's another good lap time by Will Brown as well. He's gone at 29.5 as Michael Shin pops up.
Well, Michael Shin, third in the Grand Prix here last year, lest we forget, and fourth overall. It's not been as easy a championship, though, for him, the South Korean, as Patrick Huizenrode of Australia hits the top, 1:29.3. We could have a bunch of Aussies out there if Feeney, Brown and Huizenrode keep going like this. A 29.3 is the time to beat for the pole for the first race today, this afternoon. Back with the number 4, Arvid Lindblad, chasing history this weekend. Nobody has won all 5 trophies. He's won 4 already. That is history in itself, but it's quite incredible watching this kid. I've never seen a man is so in the zone as this man, Arvid.
Yeah, and you could see yesterday, he wasn't up there in the practice sessions, but there's a reason. They were focusing on the long runs for the Grand Prix as, you need a full tank of gas for there, so the car handles a bit differently as we see. Zagazeta go up over the bridge there. They've got to be very careful at track limits as they go up over there. So when we say track limits, so the rule states that you've got to have, you can't have all 4 wheels over the white line. So 2 wheels can be on the white line. Sorry, 4 wheels can be on the white line, but you can't have your all four over. So it's a balancing act, and it's just so fast up over that part of the track. Well, you can't physically see that as a driver.
A big breath of relief then for Zagazeta as he goes 5th, and from 16th to 5th, so he's put himself firmly in a good position to stay there and move forward in qualifying and put himself in a good position for the first race. Also improving, Jet Bowling 11th, that puts him in. At the moment, those on the bubble, Nicholas Stati needs to go quicker, so does Crosby, Wolf and Lawley, although there's no real surprise there. Perhaps Enzo Ye, after his form, he did have a big crash in practice yesterday in the forest, and all 4 corners were broken. He missed 8 minutes of practice 3 while they still fixed it. The M2 boys did an unbelievable job of fixing that car for the Chinese Taipei driver. He sits 14th, and that's not where he wants to be in this Q1. 4 minutes to go.
So just look at the bubble as well, with who at this stage will be not going through the next part of qualifying. It's one of the Kiwis, unfortunately, Alex Crosby. He's sitting there in 15th, and Barrett Wolf and James Lawley as well. Lawley with a shocker of a weekend last weekend.
Yeah, big crash with his teammate Bowling, of course. And yeah, Crosby's not been out of sorts. He's had some big moments, but he's just not been as consistent as his 5th overall last year. Getting a bit of traffic there. Enzo Ye in his way there, just at the apex, and that won't help.
That wouldn't help as well. You could actually see his car get sideways just on the entry there as he's trying to trail the brake in.
Here's one of those track limit places, right?
Yeah, so you can see there, you just got to make sure that all 4 wheels aren't over the line, as that was pretty close for Huizenrode up in front there. So Huizenrode, so that was a bit of an awkward one for him, but very, very hard to get the car stopped down into this part of the track as well. As you see Crosby, a little bit of sideways action out of the second to last corner. He'll know on his dash if he's up or down as he makes his way into the last corner. Super committed. Can he improve? Unfortunately not
like
on that
it,
lap.
no, unfortunately. So then, clock ticking down, less than 3 minutes to go. Don't forget, 14 through 17, that's their grid position, both for race 1 this afternoon and for the Grand Prix. So if you don't get out of 14th position, you are going to stay there.
So let's just have a look here. So when we talk track limits, so you can see as Brock turns in here, so he's got to have at least 2 wheels touching the white line. So see his rear wheel was still on the white line.
And there.
And then same there. So that is still within track limits. He had one wheel.
Yeah.
That's how close these guys are calling it. There was only one wheel, the rear wheel just followed that white line around there as he was going up towards the bridge, and that's where track limits are a problem. And unfortunately for Alex Crosby as well, he got track limits on his quick lap there, so it's just not going his way at the moment.
And the reason why, for those not, understanding perhaps, why you would risk that is a straight line is always the quickest way. So you want to be straight, you don't want to take a long corner of it.
Yeah, it's twofold as well. It's obviously the straighter, the faster, but at the same time, the car is better balanced the straighter you are as well. So it's really a twofold situation where you want the car as straight as you possibly can as you go up over that bridge. As we see, Enzo, yeah, can he make his way?
He's on the drop zone at the moment. He's 14th. He's on that bubble. He needs to improve with this lap. He's running out of laps. He'll get another one in. Does this one improve him? Doesn't look so. He'll have another go, though, in the 77. Like I said, they rebuilt this car yesterday afternoon to get him out into practice 3. All 4 corners, I was told, had some sort of damage because he went backwards into the tower barrier and damaged the car quite badly and missed the first 8 minutes, but actually did get some decent times in the 77. It's been a good run for the man who's got several Chinese karting championships, as well as doing some Formula 4. Let's head down to Greg Russ.
Just Patrick Hoitzenroder is back in the lane, guys. A subtle pressure adjustment for him. Having a word to Bruin Beasley at MTech a moment ago, they think he might sit it out here now. That might be the end of the game for this part of qualifying. Happy with Hoitzenroder.
That makes sense. There's no need. He's not going to drop 13 positions, I doubt, in the next 33 seconds. But we have to keep an eye on Enzo Ye. That's why we're watching him. Crosby's there too. Lawley and Barrett Wolf. No surprise to see Lawley and Wolf there, but it is a bit of a surprise to see Crosby and Ye. They've been better than that all season. Yeah,
and also this qualifying, as a reminder, does set the grid for race number 1. So it is twofold. It is so important to get this qualifying right. It doesn't completely reset. You need to still have a good performance in this qualifying to see yourself up for the weekend.
Yeah, I had a word with Jet Bowling right after the first test here on Thursday, and he was already talking about getting the tyre runs right and in the right order so he knew where he was for qualifying. It's easy to get lost with two tests, 3 practices, and then going into this.
Yeah, and unfortunately the Enzo Ye doesn't improve, so at this stage he will be getting knocked out as Alex Crosby as well, unfortunately unable to improve. So
just to reiterate, what you're looking at here, this top 17, that is your grid for this afternoon's race 1. Now, the top 13 from this grid will move forward to Q2.
So from here, what happens is from the moment the checkered flag falls, there is 7 minutes until the next session starts. So this is where drivers will be talking to the engineers. If you're sort of sitting around that 10, 11, 12, 13, sort of, do you roll the dice? Do you put your second set of fresh tyres on now to give you a bump up into the top 8? But if you're comfortably within the top 8, you wouldn't be doing that. You'd be running the same tyre for this next session. But the thing to note is just how much that tyre is going to drop off. As you see, Hoitzenroder, he'll be super happy with that. He'll be off the pole position for race number 1.
He has been one of the highlights of this season, Patrick Hoitzenroder. Not just the fact that he had David Brabham mentoring him, and I'm sure David is watching on right now and will be delighted with that first session. Great guy to have in your corner, very calm, done it, been there, got the trophies, as it were, been to Formula 1, and is of an age where he can really give some advice to a young teenager, and Patrick has risen to that challenge.
Some fantastic shots here of Highlands Motorsport Park as your real idea of just how technical the circuit is with the lake, the bridge. There is all sorts going on here as these hard rates will be slowly lowering as they get set and ready for the next qualifying.
So here is your grid for race 1 this afternoon. Hoitzenroder in pole position. For Australia, Will Brown in 2nd position, Michael Shin 3rd, Zach Skula in 4th position. The next row sees Nikita Johnson and Sean Rassi. That's one of his best qualifyings, the American. And a little further down in 8th position, Nikita Johnson, Nicholas Montiero, and Jet Bowling is 11th. Sebastian Manson, then Stati, Enzo Ye, and as you can see, out of contention will be Crosby, Lawley, Wolf, and Enzo Ye. So, as you can see, now what would you do in this, 5 minutes now left? Obviously you're going to talk to your engineer. You're going to decide on tyres. There's Rashid. And yes, as you can see, new tyres being rushed out now.
Yeah, so these are for the guys that will be sitting around that 10th, 11th, 12th that know that they may not have a shot to make the next part of qualifying, but it's really important for them to put their best foot forward to try and get that jump into the next session. And yes, they won't have the tyre come the final qualifying, but at least you're guaranteed a top 8 position.
Let's head down to Greg Rust.
Why don't we take a little wander, Jonathan, in the gap here. We're up at Giles Motorsport. Now, this is Will Brown just behind us here. You've got to remember that the crews in this pit lane are made up of some very experienced Australians and Kiwis and lots of Europeans as well. There is some real engineering nous in this pit lane, and many of them will watch the quali sessions over on the wall. And what I spied right at the very end of the session was Giles Motorsport all gathered together, including Stephen here, who's on the radio, and they were looking really animated. And the reason for that is that Will Brown was stitching together a lap that may have been good enough for fastest in that first period of qualifying. And I think there may have been, was there a little brief moment in that, he's given me a thumbs up. So that's a blend of being both happy with the pace in that car and then probably a little gutted that he couldn't quite get enough to get it on the fastest. Let's go to the flip side of this equation. So here's Alex Crosby's Castrol car. He hails from this part of the world, right, from Invercargill. We were there last weekend, of course. The Castrol racer, unfortunately, these are the difficult interviews. How do you feel, and what was going on? Why you clearly tried to get that little bit extra, and it just didn't come.
Yeah, pretty disappointed with that. Felt like we had speed with the car, but obviously when I look back at the times, we're a long way off, but hopefully we can move forward in the races.
Okay. We'll leave you to it. Thank you. You can hear the tone in his voice, how disappointed he is. And this adds another dimension, Jonathan, as we go back to you this qualifying session, doesn't it? And now we kind of adjust our thinking. We've gone from race 1 this afternoon here to beginning to get excited about the New Zealand Grand Prix tomorrow in the way this qualifying unfolds.
Thanks, Greg. Yeah, and we have heard, Will Brown mentioned it earlier, there is a chance of a front coming in and a little bit of rain sometime. Wouldn't that be a nice little bit of spice? Qualifying 2 is coming up for the top 13 that just qualified just a moment ago. Join us after this.
Where to from here, New Zealand? To amazing places. Places of opportunity, technology, possibility, sustainability, every ability. Places that are for all to enjoy. Yeah, everyone. Let's enjoy the past forged by those that came before us, but also find new ones, maybe better ones. Life is our journey. Aotearoa, our magnificent waka. Haere mai, New Zealand. Let's go places.
Welcome back to Highlands Motorsport Park. I can see Greg Rust rushing around as we get ready for qualifying 2. Jonathan Green and Andrew Waite looking forward to this. And right at the front is the number 87, Will Brown. And I've just got a feeling in my water he's going to qualify well for this.
Yeah, he is. As I'm just looking a bit further down as well, we can see a couple of green sets of tyres being rolled.
Yep.
That's by Sean Rashid and also Monteiro as well. So more or less what we were saying, the guys that are right on close to that bubble that nearly didn't make it to this qualifying, they're rolling those tyres. We've got Greg with a bit more of an update on that.
So Andrew, you know, with this knockout style, F1 style qualifying formula now, graduating, getting through is super important. So if you're Sean Rashid, you've gone for brand new Pirelli tyres. You could see them on the car a moment ago. Let's wander down the lane here. Will Brown is at the head of the queue. He's got used tyres on. Similar story for Jet Bowling beyond him. New tyres for Nicholas Monteiro, brand new set by the looks of it. We continue down. Nicholas Statti, he's used. How much goodness has come out of Nicholas Statti's, I'm not sure yet. Used rubber also for Arvid Lindblad. So some of these people, based on the Thursday testing we've done here, the Friday practice and so on, feel like they're confident with their speed, particularly what we saw from Arvid in that first part of qualifying, to get through to the final portion, right? Matthias Agazeta, used tyres on by the looks of it. Same for Sebastian Manson. And then we go back to the 23. I'm just seeing if anyone else in the lane has got new tyres on. I'll tell you who's waiting here, guys, is Brock Feeney. So his FT60 is actually up at the moment on those special rests or jacks that they use. No tyres on that car at the moment. I think they're waiting here to make a decision on that car, and I'll come back to you once I know.
Thanks, Greg. Yeah, and it's really interesting because this is a double-edged sword, because you want new rubber, you've got to make the top 8. That's what this session is all about. It's all about getting into that top 8, then you go for the shootout. 9 through 13 will stay where they are on the grid for the Grand Prix. So this is what is really interesting. Here's Feeney. No tyres on. Oh, one's going on now. Will it be a new one or will it be a used one? It's interesting. I noticed that Bowling is going on used tyres. He's going to be the one that's probably at most risk because he hasn't been at the sharp end, whereas Will Brown and Arvid Lindblad, their times in that first session were good enough, surely, to get them through to the top 8. But you never know. It only needs one luck up or one mistake corner, and then you're, out of sorts.
Yeah, I'm surprised, to be honest, not more have gone for the new tyre. If you're sitting in that bubble and you just want to guarantee yourself a top 8 qualifying, this is your chance. This is your if you haven't qualified near there in any of the rounds, this is a chance to give yourself a top 8 qualifying position for the Grand Prix.
That said, I watched closely yesterday, and in that practice 3, several drivers literally just bedded in a new set. So what you might see here with Brock is that these tyres have maybe only had 2 laps, so they're not far from optimal.
Yeah, I think Brock's got enough pace to be able to roll himself into the top 8 with where he was positioned yesterday. And you've got to remember, he's fresh into this style of racing and this type of car. So every single time he's in the car, he will be improving. And he'll be sitting there thinking all that through as well, of where he can improve, what he can do as he set himself up for a bit of free track.
And Andrew, as a racing driver, let's just once again pause for Will Brown and Brock Feeney for what they're actually doing here. It's one thing to try out single-seater racing when you're a supercar superhero. It's another to take on literally the world's best, especially with Arvid Lindblad and many of the others that are going either to Indy or Formula One, and try to take them on in a Grand Prix. Yeah,
to me, it's huge respect for these guys to come over here and be part of this championship. It's fantastic to see, and it's great for everyone watching as well to see them come over. But at the same time, to me, that just shows how much they back themselves as drivers and how good they really are, because they're able to come here and still do the job. Doesn't matter what it is, they're able to make it happen. As we've got Greg Russ down on the lane.
Andrew, in that first part of qualifying, you guys saw a shot of Martin Short watching with some of the engineers from the pit wall. They watched from the final corner as the cars come by. Now, he was talking at length with Brock Feeney here in the lane with the crew that are on his car. Martin obviously works closely with him at Triple Eight, as you guys detailed before. He tells me they have made a subtle change, a small change to that car for Brock, but importantly, as Jonathan question marked before, they are tyres on his car that are in reasonably good shape. They've had hardly, any impact from the running so far, so that's a reasonably good set on Brock's car.
Yeah, there was a couple of drivers doing that just yesterday, and I think that's because they're trying to sort of spread it, giving themselves the best chance. 3 chances, remember, that's what you've got to try to think of. If everything goes well, you get 3 bites of the qualifying lap.
Yeah, you do, and that little setup change as well, because you are able to work on the car between sessions as well to make some changes. But it's pretty clear the guys that are comfortable with where their cars are. You just saw them come in, sit there, nothing was changed on the car, and you can focus in on, as a driver, what you need to improve on, because around here, with how high commitment it is, there's more time in you if you have the confidence in the car to be able to press on.
It's interesting. Brock Feeney was in the hot seat last night, and he was telling me that he's learned left foot braking to do the single-seaters, but it's not something he does in supercars, but he's been trying it on the sim, which is okay, but it ain't the real thing. And he's kind of like, he thought about going back to right foot braking, then found that it just didn't work for his brain, so he's gone back to left foot braking.
Yeah, and it's one of those things as well. You sort of just about got to commit to it and stick to it, as well as we see Sean Rocher. We expect some big things out of him with this qualifying, as he's gone for brand new tyres, as we be building them in. This lap will still be not quite as quick as we'll see the tyres build in. So 1:29.6 though for Will Brown.
Yeah, that's a good time. That's a good time straight out of the box for Will, with at least 6 minutes on the clock. He'll be pleased with that.
So it's a bit of a different approach there. So he's gone for the approach that rather than build that tyre in again, take the temperature that it already had and get out there and get on with it. So interesting approach, and you know, to be that fast again, is that's pretty similar to the qualifying times. It's only 3/10 off what we saw in the last session. So you know, it nearly just becomes a lap during a normal qualifying where you come in, you make a setup change and you go again. So that's the way he's approached this, rather than building that tyre in nice and slowly again.
By the way, if you want an insight into Sean Rashid, he's got a great little mini docu-series on YouTube called Sean to F1, and he's got a cameraman following him almost 24 hours a day. But it's an interesting insight as to what these athletes do. And he said, you know, the reason he wanted to do it, he just wants to inspire people and kind of open the lid a little bit on motor racing. And it's good to see a sort of mini drive to survive.
Yeah, it gives you a real insight of what goes into becoming, you know, one of the best there are. It's a brutal championship. But that's why drivers come and do it, because they want to put themselves up against the best that there are.
Good improvement from Zach Schooler. He moves to 5th. On the bubble is Zagazeta in 9th. Manson just behind. Shin, Bowling and Nikita Johnson all need to improve if they want to go for the shootout for pole.
So Will Brown has equaled his time from the last session, so those tyres are still clearly in good condition as we have the 2 AAA drivers, 1 and 2 so far during Q2.
Does driver style help with how you maintain and manage tyres?
It does a bit, but then at the same time, to the driver and how they drive the car, you set the car up accordingly as well. And quite often you have drivers within a team. You know, you've got 6 drivers, say, in M2 competition or MTech. They aren't all running the setup that the fastest drivers are running, because different driving styles change how you want the car to be for you. So, you know, you talk to Will Brown and Brock Feeney in the Supercar Championship, they won't have the cars exactly the same all the time. They go their own directions.
Big news stories here. The Americans are coming and coming fast. How about this? Nikita Johnson, the man on screen at the moment, has just gone 3rd quickest, and Jet Bowling has just gone 6th. That would be his highest qualifying to date this season. Here's Zach Schooler, though, as he'll come across the line. Schooler out of the drop zone at the moment, but now improves to 5th overall, so he is in that top 8. Jet Bowling on the bubble. Manson just out. Zagazeta's got to improve. And of all people, Arvid Lindblad is 11th at the moment. Here he is on screen, the Brit.
Yeah, so he's taken the approach to build that tyre in a bit slower. So this will be his first flyer this lap here.
Doesn't need the traffic, that's for sure.
As Will Brown there gets out of the way.
In fact, he's pitting as Arvid now will start a flyer. Sean Rashid improves to 6th place. The Americans, Arvid Lindblad goes to 2nd. That's much better. Okay, that lap will put him in good stead now, but he'll want to go quicker, knowing Arvid, like you say, he's building up to finishing off. That's what he's been doing all season for this last 4.5 weeks. Let's head down to Greg Russ.
Jonathan, how about this for Patrick Hoitzenroder? This was discovered in the left rear at the conclusion of the first part of qualifying. So we know that he put in a great lap, a tremendous performance by the Aussie, but it could have completely gone pear-shaped for him. So that's been discovered by the watchful eyes of the Pirelli crew and his team down here in the lane. Wow.
That's pretty incredible. You do not want that rattling around anywhere, do you?
No, it's not the way he wanted to do. So still great job by him to grab that pole in the first race. With that issue going on, as Hoitzenroder again, he has popped up to position number 2. So he has found some pace this weekend. It's a great job by him.
Now, you've got to keep an eye as we watch Stati. He's 11th. He's out of it at the moment. Schooler improves again to 4th. The man who is in real trouble, though, is Zagazeta. We expected more from him. He's down in 12th position. He will stay there in 12th if he doesn't improve in this last 2 minutes. Likewise, Manson, Sean Rashid, Stati, who you're looking at right now, and Michael Shin, they will all be 9th through 13th for the Grand Prix. Bowling still in the top 8 in 7th place. Monteiro rounds out the top 8. Here comes Stati. Does he improve? Sean Rashid does, but here comes the Australian. Rashid improves to 4th. Stati just 1 place, 10th. It won't be enough for the Chip Ganassi Jr.
And Stati as well, the last 2 laps, he has been given track limits. He gets sideways through the loop.
And Stati had an off day yesterday. He came out of the loop, was sideways and crashed out. So he almost did again, you heard it.
Yeah, that was a huge moment for him. So that's 2 laps in a row that he's had track limits at the bridge.
Brock Feeney is in the top 8. And right now, on the bubble, Jet Bowling in 8th, Monteiro just outside. We're keeping an eye on these times. Will Brown, who's just come in the pits, not go out again because he stays on a 1:29.4 and could well be, what a story, launch your own car for the season ahead and take the pole for the Grand Prix. What a fairy tale that would be for the 26-year-old Oz. Now, Stati trying to improve. He's currently in 11th place. He's dropped another place. No improvement from Shin either, and it's a disappointment for Sebastian Manson, winner of 2 race 2s.
Okay, so no over track limits that lap there. So that was 2 laps in a row prior that he's done it. So he needs to piece this one together.
This is a surprise for me because Stati has been, throughout the practice sessions, looking much more racy than he had in previous rounds. But obviously, the youngster just 16 years of age. He's heading back to the States to do Formula Regional in America. Does he get an improvement? I'm afraid he may not. Let's have a look. Was 11th and he stays 11th. Now let's wait for Zagazzetta. Can he be the last man? Manson crosses through. Here he goes. No, he's missed it. I think he's missed it. So Zagazzetta is going to stay 12th.
I think he's going to get one more lap, and he got over the line just in time.
Do you think?
I did. The green light was still on as he went through, so...
Well, we await. Interestingly, Michael Shin has got the checkered flag. Jet Bowling in 8th is the man perilously close to going through. Nikita Johnson squeaking through in 7th. So the Americans having a really good show here. Josh Pearson had a very good test yesterday at Laguna Seca. Top 5 for him. And that's because he's been working hard down here. And Zach Schooler, here comes Zagazzetta. He is on one. So, yes, this is, talk about last chance hotel.
Just got across the line just in time. Can he improve anymore? We've seen him run up the front. We've seen him with pole positions. The team will be telling him that he is not currently going to be making it through to the next stage of qualifying. The eyes up the bridge. Be focused on making sure he doesn't get track limits up to here. Working on clearing the brake, because it looks like maybe his
front wing looks a little bit...
yeah, it looks moving around a little bit at the same time. So maybe, he's got some damage there. So, well, that'll be affecting him massively.
Yeah, reminds me of another South American who was always good at lastminute.com, and that was, of course, Ayrton Senna of Brazil. But this is the man from Peru as he comes to the line. Will he get it? Will he improve? Zagazzetta was 12th. And I think he's going to stay 12th, and I think that front wing has basically helped not get him any further up the board. And as far as I can see right now, your top 8 is Will Brown, Patrick Huizenroder, Arvid Lindblad, Sean Rashid, Zach Schooler, Brock Feeney 6th, Nikita Johnson 7th, and Jet Bowling, his best qualifying to date, 8th. And he will get a chance to go for the pole.
Yeah, it's a real shame for Zagazzetta there to pick up that damage. So you can just see as he's coming up towards the bridge there.
Oh, yeah.
So, so it looks like maybe something might have hit that part of the wing and has dismantled it there. So that's, we've seen him well up the front. So that's clearly slowed him down. He'll be absolutely gutted with that, but the team will be talking to him about that as well, to let him know that it's not all his own doing. So huge shame for him.
Yeah, good spot, and well done to our cameraman, because you might not have noticed that until right at the very end, but we did. And we saw that he was struggling just a little bit, and we're used to seeing him much more at the sharp end. Remember Taradonga, where he was pole position over Arvid Lindblad. So then, Will Brown, the fastest with a 1:29.452. Patrick Huizenroder in 2nd place. 2 Aussies out front, then the Brit, the championship leader, in 3rd. Sean Rashid, his best qualifying so far, in 4th. Zach Schooler 5th, Brock Feeney 6th. Nikita Johnson 7th, Jet Bowling, the 2 Americans 7th and 8th. And staying where they are for the Grand Prix, 9th, 10th and 11th is Monteiro of Brazil, Shin of South Korea, and Stati of Australia. Zagazzetta and Manson, 12th and 13th. So the top 8 go through, and we have an almighty shootout coming up. Stay with us.
I came from the mud. There's dirt on my hands. Strong like a tree. There's roots where I stand. Oh, I've been running from the law. Hope they won't shoot me down soon. Try to catch me howling at the moon. 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 When it rains, it pours.
The Repco Supercars Championship is back in Topor. New season, new format, the same unforgettable action. An absolute festival showcasing New Zealand's love for motorsport.
28-year-old Kiwi from Auckland does the job.
A homegrown hero winning the first ever Supercars race in Topor.
Chalk up one for the Kiwis.
And some of the best door-to-door racing.
That was a thump.
The ITM Topor Super 440. Tickets at supercars.com. Supercars, unforgettable.
Back live in the pit lane between qualifying sessions. This is Matthias Zagazetta's car, car 8. You can see at the front here on the wing between the blades that this bracket appears to have broken. Now, he's jumped out of the car and he's pretty disappointed. I'm not sure if he's still here in the garage. We were hoping to have a word with him, but I can't see him at the moment. So he is here. He probably you probably don't want to talk to us, I'm sorry. What happened?
Well, I have no idea. We need to check, but the front wing is broken. I had terminal understeer. I couldn't do anything more.
You're seething about this, aren't you?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's already done, so nothing I can do.
Hard luck, thank you. There's Matthias Zagazeta. Michael Shin's out of his car as well. So mixed emotions here at M2 at the moment, as you can appreciate. Here we go. Let's take you outside here, and you can see the team are gathered round and they're contemplating here what may have happened, why this would have happened. It doesn't look to me as though there is any immediate damage on the front wing at all that perhaps would have contributed to that. So something's failed there or broken in that bracket, it would seem, between the blades and the bottom of the wing. And Matthias Zagazeta is understandably disappointed. A quick tyre check for you because the game now shifts to pole position importantly, and those that figured they had the right car to get through to the final part of qualifying have saved some good rubber. So we go here to Arvid Lindblad. Brand new Pirelli tyres on there. I want to just sneak a little shot here too, if I can, for a moment. Now, I'm just wandering down between some of the cars. We'll get the cameraman to follow me here. Stay there. I'm not going to upset Arvid's lovely mum, Anita, but just tucked around the corner, here's Anita. She's been quietly watching the times. And I would imagine Stefan's kind of keeping an eye on things at home too, overseas, is he?
Oh, it's 11:30 at night. So, hi, Stefan. Hope you're watching.
Do you get nervous in these moments? Do you try and sort of stay out of the way? How do you handle it?
I'm like Arvid, focused. It'll be fine. Okay. It'll be fine.
We know where he gets it from. Thank you for talking to us. I've done that without asking you. I apologise. So thank you very much. Arvid's dad, Stefan, was with us, incidentally, for the opening 3 rounds. He left after Manfield, and Anita then flew in for the final 2 events. So nice for her to be here to support her son on this mission. So as I said, brand new tyres on that Red Bull car for Arvid Lindblad. Similar story here for Nikita Johnson. A reminder, we've got a great feature chat coming up with him a little later in our coverage today. The American doesn't just have his eyes set on things like IndyCar and a future in that part of the world, even though he clearly has the talent for that. He's going to get a good, potentially, haul of points out of this towards his super license, and he wants to continue in Europe. We go down the lane here and have a little look. Zach Schooler, real star of things of the season opener, the winner of the Tony Quinn Foundation Scholarship. Brand new tyres there. We've detailed that issue, finding that screw in the left rear for Patrick Hoitzenroder. That must have been when they finally came across that, just a heart-stopping moment for them, and yet he still delivered, the Aussie, who's announced this week that he is heading back to the UK to race this year. Great story for that young Aussie, and we'll tell you more about it. So brand new tyres going on his car too. Sean Rashid has used some. Now, we detailed that before he went out for the second part of qualifying. So used tyres on that car. Let's wander down here. I'm going off script. Apologies to our production team here, and have a little look at Brock Feeney. So Martin's in conversation with them. M-Tech are here. Brand new tyres for the Aussie. Just worth reiterating for those of you watching on the Stuff Speed Hub in Australia, this guy, second in the Supercars Championship last year. We know how dynamite he's been in every category that he's been in, like Will Brown. But in terms of open wheel experience, really limited. He did a test back in 2017 in an F4 car. He was great in karts. So this is a real moment this weekend to challenge himself. Yes, it's a race car at the end of the day with a steering wheel and 4 wheels like normal, but it's so different to that massive supercar, that bulk V8 power that he's got. It performs, it behaves very differently. So this is a great thing for him. So he's enjoying the challenge immensely. Back we go up here to Giles Motorsport. Stephen is standing there. Looks like brand new tyres on Will Brown's car as well as they get set to send him. And what a performance. Three rounds he was with us for, the opening 3 rounds of the championship. Great to get him back in an open wheeler. And don't forget, when Will was younger, he worked very closely with this guy. So they've kind of reunited the pair of them for this. He went back home for the Bathurst 12-hour last weekend. Here, getting ready for CTFROC again. And man, it has been impressive so far. They feel, as I said earlier in the coverage, like he may have been able to get the fastest time in that first period of qualifying, had it not been for a little moment. And it was quite an animated Stephen and the team when that happened. We've got a minute to go here. Just looking a little further down the lane. I think that's it from a tyre story standpoint for you guys. We'll take you back there. It looks like, I think, Jets at the end there. So let's go back to commentary. This is going to be a lot of fun, guys. Cannot wait to see who walks away with this one.
Great stuff, Greg Rust, and yeah, we got a real insight there. And he didn't get as far as Jet bowling, but it doesn't matter because we think that Jet's going to be on new tyres because he was definitely on scrub tyres for that last session.
Yep, he will be on a fresh set of tyres as well as we see them coming up towards the line to get ready for this qualifying. This session is a total of 12 minutes, so 2 minutes longer than the last one. So it may give them just enough time to have one run and then a semi-slow lap to just cool those tyres off and then have one more attack at it. So that's where I think it'll end up.
Andrew, they haven't released them yet. Why do you want to be at the front of this line? Is it psychological or is there a real sort of strategy to it?
Clear air. It's all about getting that clear air as much as you can. So that's why you see some roll early and then others you'll see do the opposite and they'll wait for that clear air as they'll have an idea already just how many laps they can do and what they need to do for a bit of a program. The tyres will be pressured correctly for that one lap and you know whether or not we've seen it throughout the championship as well that they're able to, with this Pirelli tyre, they're able to actually cool it off for a lap and then go again. So I think we'll see that happen.
Just saw a quick glimpse of Bowling's tyres. They are scrubbed in, but a bit like Feeney earlier, we don't know how many laps he's got on them. But if he's going to use them for this final 8, we'll see what he can do. The bottom line is, these are the top 8 for the Grand Prix, but the order is about to be found out in the next 11 minutes and 45 seconds. Out we go then for the ultimate shootout, for the 69th running of the famous New Zealand Grand Prix. Only 2 men could say that they have won the Grand Prix and the Macau Grand Prix, potentially, because Roberto Moreno has done it. But could Arvid Lindblad, who won Macau in 23, be the other if he could win the Grand Prix? That is to be decided. Roberto Moreno, of course, here this season. The Brazilian, helping Kiwi Motorsport, as he often does. Came here in 1982 and won the Grand Prix. Same year that he won Macau.
See how slowly they roll out of the lane. That's the worst thing you want to do is stress that tyre on the way out. Just cruise around, build that temp nice and easily for that first lap. And that's a good thing about this qualifying now. You're into session number 3. You're on your second set of green tyres. You're using this lap on the outlap to think about all the things that you can do differently. How did I get the car rotated there? Did I get it rotated enough before I could get on the throttle? How's my brake release coming into here? Can I change that? And then how was my exit, because you're flat all the way from here down into the forest. So these are the things as a driver you're thinking about on the outlap, all while working out how to build your tyre up correctly to get yourself set up for the lap.
Schooler was another in the hot seat last night, and he said this is where he wanted to be I asked him about the qualifying, and he said, yeah, it's tricky because it's different than what we've done before. I just want to make it into the top 8, and then all bets are off, he said. And it's been a fascinating season for him. The man from the UAE, that's where he grew up, but he was born in Indonesia, Singapore, I think he actually was born in, but they were living in Indonesia at the time. So he's lived in many places, but New Zealand's hardly been his home, so this is his first time racing here. He's been teasing us as to where he's going to be racing this season, but he says, I will be racing something very similar in Europe. And as a 17-year-old, that's just what we want to hear. As another Kiwi sets off on an international tour like so many before him. Brendan Hartley, of course, of New Zealand, won the first ever race 20 years ago. He celebrated it earlier in the season, and he was here at Taupo to celebrate that fact, and so many. So here comes Lindblad, again, warming up those brand new Pirelli tyres. Behind him, Nikita Johnson, the man closest to him in the championship. A reminder, Lindblad, 3:12, Nikita Johnson, 2:53, the gap, 59 points. It's not insurmountable, especially if Lindblad were to have a problem of sorts, but he's got one hand on the overall title right now, because that is a massive lead. And Skula in third is only 8 points off Nikita Johnson in third. So that's a battle we're really going to have to keep an eye on, especially when the likes of Huizenrode and many others will all be. How about that? Sean Rashid sets the early time, although it's not a
He's on the opposite strategy,
time.
obviously.
Yeah.
He's got to try and go hard early because he needs to really focus on using that tyre that was green in the last session. But as you're talking about the championship earlier, yes, Arvid sort of has one hand on the trophy at the moment, but if it could go wrong anywhere, it's here, because the New Zealand Grand Prix is just as important as the championship here. There are only 2 Grand Prix around the world outside of Formula One, here and Macau. So to have that to your name is something super prestigious. So that's why, you know, Arvid will be putting everything on the line here. He will not care about this championship for the qualifying for the Grand Prix, because being on the front row into turn 1 is so important to be able to, you know, go ahead and try and take that championship title and the Grand Prix.
Calm before the storm. You just sense that everybody's winding up for that last 2 minutes of this session, which is already down to 7 minutes and 30 seconds. As we go back to the 93. Brock Feeney, the phenomena, really, at 22 years of age, already done 4 seasons in supercars. What a trajectory he's been on.
So he's starting to get into it. It seems a bit earlier than the others, but he would have clearly done his homework building into this weekend. He will understand completely how this new tyre runs. He would have run a new set in practice. He would have run that new set early in qualifying as well. So he knows already, as you know, a true professional, how to get the most out of this brand new Pirelli tyre.
We're about to find out where he sits. He's currently second behind Sean Rashid. Does he improve? Yes, he does. A 1:29.4, and that's right on the money. That was very similar to Will Brown's pole for the first race this afternoon. In fact, you're going to update me as to exactly what it was.
So it is 1/10 off what Huizenrode did in Q1. So we've got to remember the track's hotter now than when we were at Q1. So that is a very, very quick lap from Brock Feeney. So that's going to hold him towards the front of the field there. So massive job by him.
Yeah, really good job. So Feeney, Brock Feeney into the carousel. Nice and cambered through there. You can get good drive as you head down towards the second forest section here. The long run down to the hairpin, and then the run back to the bridge. Flat out through here, it's a slight kick, but then it's hard on the anchors and into this left-hand, as you can see, full tilt through there. And now, increasing the speed as Jet Bowling goes third. Good lap by Jet Bowling, a 1:30.1. Gets ahead of fellow American Nikita Johnson. Will Brown just behind in 5th. Then it's Skula, Lindblad and Huizenrode. But here comes Feeney, currently at the top at the moment.
This lap's looking good by him. He got it stopped nicely down into the forest hairpin, as it's awkward to get the car stopped down. Slight little lock up. Looked like he ran just a little bit wide on that second last corner. He will know on his dash if he's up. Full commitment into the last corner. Can Brock Feeney go any faster as he comes across the line? Yes!
That's a lap. 129.176. That's almost 0.3 quicker than anybody's gone all through this hour qualifying session. With 5 minutes to go, it's the Australian Brock Feeney leading the way. Here comes Nikita Johnson to finish his lap here. Does Johnson improve from 4th? Crosses the line now. And does by 1 position. He goes 3rd. Lindblad goes 2nd, 129.7. Still 0.6 though off that fastest lap so far from Feeney. Things are hotting up, Andrew. This is what we wanted.
So Will Brown has now popped up into 2nd place as well. He's starting to press on as everyone's pressing on as Lindblad sliding his way through the big long loop. And now it's really important to get the car stopped. Try not to get any locking. Does a good job through there. This is his first full push lap. Full commitment on this one.
Wouldn't it be something for the running of the Bulls to be 1, 2, 3? There's every chance of that at the moment, because Lindblad always keeps his powder dry until right at the end of the qualifying session, and he's doing it again here with 4 minutes to go. Brand new tyres, remember, for him.
Oh, he just had a little bit of opposite lock as he tried turning it into the hairpin there, because it's so important to get that run. And now comes a committed part of the track up towards the bridge. Careful of track limits as he come up over there. Completely fine and airborne over the bridge. So close to the wall as he turns in to Lakeside. Look at him working the wheel, hustling the car.
Yep, got good hang time too. He was up in the air for at least half a second there. Excellent stuff. He comes out of Indy and onto the main straight. Feeney goes even quicker, 29.032. Here comes Nikita Johnson. He's improved to 4th. Lindblad goes 2nd at 129.226.
Here comes Will Brown. Can he go any quicker?
He's beaten Lindblad, and it is a 1-2-3 Red Bull at the moment.
The Bulls are flying. 1, 2. Well, not anymore. Hudson-Road has now jumped up into P3.
And knocked Lindblad onto 4th position, and a 2nd row potentially start for him. So he'll want to improve on this lap, and he'll know, his engineer will tell him, he's got to keep pushing.
And that's a good lap by Schooler as well. He is in the mix. He is only a 2 tenths off. So he's super fast as well. So that top 5 is absolutely flying at the moment.
I was looking at the grid for last year, and Shin was in the top 8 and made it to 3rd in the Grand Prix. With a longer race, there's always a possibility. So don't count the likes of Nikita and Schooler out. Oh, lock up there by the 4. As Lindblad is really pushing on now, and he knows it.
So he's running a lot of rear bias in the car. You can see the way under brakes. The rear's moving around a lot. I noticed it as well in what we call Museum Corner down in front of us, reverse Indy. He's locked up down into there as well. It's airborne completely over the bridge.
Lovely.
So you can see the wheel work going on. He will know on his dash if he is up. So if we watch down here, as he hits the brakes, see the rear move around a little bit as it goes off the bump. But he controlled it a lot nicer through there. This lap's looking pretty tidy at this stage.
They'll be watching back in Europe as Arvid Lindblad off the campus in F2. But here in New Zealand to try to make history, he crosses the line. Does he stay 4th? I think he does.
He does. He was only 8/100ths off his quicker lap the lap before, but he's having a cool down here. So what he's going to do is he'll have 1 lap here where he'll just look after his tyres enough, and then he'll have 1 more crack at it. As things just settle down just a little bit in this session as we see some of the drivers have a reset to get ready to go again.
Schooler out of the bus stop and into the first corner, currently 5th. At the moment, your Grand Prix start looks like Brock Feeney in pole, Will Brown, his teammate, both here with Red Bull, and of course in Supercars 2nd, Huizenrode in 3rd. They're in different teams though, of course, here. Lindblad 4th, Schooler 5th, Sean Rashid 6th, Nikita Johnson with work to do in 7th, and Jet Bowling delighted to be in the top 8. That would be his best qualifying of the season so far.
So it's interesting to note that how Brock Feeney, he more or less went a lap earlier than everyone else in this tyre. He's on exactly the same tyre as everyone else, but he put that lap in a lap earlier, worked the tyre a bit harder, so he was ready earlier. So that may be the difference as well. That's really helped him out to get the most out of it, because it's such a long track here as well. So you got more time to build that tyre up to have it ready earlier. So, you know, it's a huge job by him. You've got to remember, he's only driven a Formula 4 car once a while ago. So to come here to the New Zealand Grand Prix weekend and provisionally at this stage be on pole position is a massive effort.
Less than 30 seconds to go here in our final qualifying for the 69th running of the New Zealand Grand Prix, steeped in history. And here at Highlands, you couldn't get a better place to qualify for the Grand Prix. And dying seconds, down to 10 now. Can anybody stop Brock Feeney from taking a historical pole position ahead of Will Brown? The two Aussies going at it. What a story, what a fairy tale. Huizenrode, 3 Australians at the front. That, I think, is a first in the 20-year history of this series to see 3 Australians. But it just shows you how the face of Australian single-seaters has changed in the last decade.
So Brown's called it. He's slowed off. As we watch Brock here, he's still pressing on, trying to find another lap.
Little bit of a moment there.
So he's done the same as well. You look at his last lap time, that was over 5 seconds slower than his quickest. So he's cooled off and he's having one more crack at it. He's still up it. This lap must be pretty good for him to still be pushing on at this point. He will know on his dash whether or not he's got anything to fight with. As he's going to work super hard to get the car stopped.
Oh,
again, that lock up, but he locked up on his quickest lap as well. So it's clearly not hurting him.
Here he comes. Feeney crosses the line and will take the checkered flag. And he does not improve from his 29.032. Here comes Huizenrode.
Oh, that might have been track limits as well there.
Oh, that would be a shame, especially if he did get something special here. So everybody bar Bowling, who's already pitted, starting to take the checkered flag. Just a couple of drivers out there, including this man, Patrick Huizenrode. Last corner, the number 5 crosses the line, takes the checkered flag, and stays third, but that will be a very happy Australian for sure.
That makes
wow
the Bulls, the Triple Eight drivers, 1 and 2.
I tell you what,
front row for the New Zealand Grand Prix. What a way. And the other story, Arvid Lindblad, he's down there in 5th position. That is the lowest he's qualified, but how's that? Brock can't believe it. And
he's only seen the car on Thursday.
That is a massive effort. And of all tracks to come to and do this as well, Highlands isn't a track you just arrive at and get on the pace instantly. It is so high commitment. So to arrive in a car that he's never driven before, when these guys have been racing for 5 weeks in a row, to turn up here and put it on pole position is incredible. So well done to him. He thoroughly deserves that.
And Andrew, we talked this morning about Lindblad possibly wrapping up the championship after the first race, where he does start on the front row, but then for the Grand Prix, it's going to be Brock Feeney out front, who won't be holding back, that's for sure. Will Brown 2nd, Patrick Huizenrode 3rd, Schooler in 4th, Arvid Lindblad in 5th, Sean Rashid 6th, Nikita Johnson 7th, and Jet Bowling rounding out the top 8. That is your top 8 for the Grand Prix this weekend, tomorrow afternoon. One race to come, though, this afternoon. What a great qualifying session that was. And Arvid Lindblad, try as he might, just not getting...
So something there's clearly not clicking for the M2 competition team as well. So that's the first M2 car. We know how smart that operation is, but that's their first car down in 5th position. So as we see there, Brock, the commitment through the bus stop, using all the road, taking a bit of inner supercars into that one with using that amount of curb, but how good.
How about this? 3 Aussies, 1 Kiwi, 1 Brit, and 3 Americans. And a Tom Mallard in a shirt. So here they come. And, well, I'm sure he can't believe it. And the first man to greet him is his teammate, Will. Well, we won't repeat that, but just suffice to say, man, that was fast. There's the Mallard Shirt Production Company. Gives him a quick handshake, but that was impressive for a guy who's not seen this car really, and like I said, learning left foot braking and the tightness of a single seater. He said he felt like Shane van Gisbergen, and he asked if Sean had been in contact with him. And yes, they have spoken. And he said, any advice? He said, yeah, don't let off the damned extinguisher.
Yeah, that was certainly a Grand Prix to remember that one. It's not every time you try to start the car, but look at that. Fair enough. He is super pumped with that one. Pole position for the New Zealand Grand Prix goes to Brock Feeney.
You know, it almost doesn't matter what happens after this because that is still a great accolade. To come into a championship that has been, you know, they've already done, what, over 3,000 kilometers, all 17 drivers, and he blitzes the lot of them. That is pretty impressive.
Yeah, and you just got to remember that fact that these guys have been in and out every weekend with the amount of miles they've done. They know their cars so well by now, and to come and join us for the last round and do that is...
Let's see that big Aussie smile then for Brock Feeney. He's with Stephen McGuire.
Cracking qualifying was at P3 Patrick Huizenroder, P2 Will Brown. Let's first of all do the pole position qualifying presentation for the 69th New Zealand Grand Prix. Castrol Toyota's Formula Regional Oceania Championship. The trophy today presented by Chris Stark, the marketing manager, Toyota Financial Services. And the Toyota Financial Services pole position goes to Australia's Brock Feeney. You also get a little bit of spending money there as well there, Brock. Oh, yeah, mate. This is crazy. How crazy was that pole lap, buddy?
Mate, my heart rate's about 300 beats right now. Oh, that was awesome. Like, I knew I just had to get to Q3. I'm normally a guy that builds up quite a bit, and yeah, I thought I did a pretty decent lap. I was just thinking for the rest of it, don't spray it and cause a red flag. But no, I'm absolutely chuffed. I can't thank MTech and Bruin for bringing me here and everyone that supported me to get here. This is unreal. I mean, qualifying's a lot here, and to be on pole for the Grand Prix my first time is pretty bloody awesome.
It was suggested you went out early. You were first out of the pits for Q3. Were you trying to get that lap in quicker than anyone else and get the tyres up to heat?
Yeah, we've been going out about 30 seconds after everyone just for clear track. It's pretty chaos out there on the warm-up laps, and we quickly ran over and double-checked the rules, and we went straight to the front. We knew Marty, my engineer, he's a guru, and he knew if we waited, we'd miss a lap. So, yeah, we went out early, got the lap done, and I could just focus on everything myself. I didn't have to look at anyone else or slow down for anyone else. So, yeah, mate, I'm absolutely chuffed. I can't believe it.
Not bad for someone who hopped in the car for the first time in years on Thursday.
Yeah, pretty wild. Yeah, honestly, these things are crazy. Like, it's bloody hard work out there. I nearly had about 500 crashes in that session, but no, I'm stoked. I'm having heaps of fun. As I said, the team's been awesome to get me here, and so has the series. So, yeah, I'm pumped. I need to learn how to do a start in these next two so I can smoke Will off the line.
I was about to say, a couple of balls on the front row. What gives?
Yeah, I know. The team should be pretty stoked. I think a 1-2 for us is pretty awesome this weekend.
Congratulations. You are on pole for the 69th running of the New Zealand Grand Prix, Brock.
Thank you, mate. Really appreciate it.
How about that? The smile says it all. Brock Feeney on pole for the 69th New Zealand Grand Prix tomorrow, live here from Highlands Motorsport Park. Stick around. There's so much more to come.
That had everything, and Brock Feeney, what a session. I mean, we couldn't have predicted that.
I did not predict that to be. I knew Brock would be there for sure. He's such a talented driver, but to put it on pole position against some of the best there are is super impressive. And to go 888-1-2 as well is. We're in for a race for the New Zealand Grand Prix. You've got to remember, Brock hasn't done a full race distance yet. Yes, he's going to get that experience this afternoon, but, you know, he's got so much to learn, but he clearly is well under control of all of that. And
what did Mike Tyson say? It's all great until somebody punches you in the face, and I feel for Arvid. He's brought in these two, or they have, Red Bull have brought in these two ringers, and now he's got real work to do because they're not going to be holding back. And as Brock says, he's going to try to beat him off the line. They are unfettered. They're not racing for the championship. They're racing to win the Grand Prix. Arvid, though, knows he's on the front row. He's a cool, calm, collected campaigner, and he can wrap it all up after race one, if not race two. So it's not by any means out of the realms, but it does change the complexion of the Grand Prix. And I kind of hope that we have an unfettered Grand Prix where everybody is going for the win. It was that way last year, and let's hope it is again this year.
And how's the camaraderie between these two? You know, Will was a first to him. He was super pumped for Brock to be able to pull off that pole position. But there's two very, very talented drivers, 1 and 2, starting on the front row for the New Zealand Grand Prix tomorrow.
And let's not take any glory away from Patrick Huizenroder, another Aussie who's been here for the full 5 weeks. He could well be a factor. We'll take a short break. We'll be back.